Dead of the D. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Farzy Show. It's nice to have you along for the ride after what was a very, extremely, actually, busy weekend in Philadelphia sports. Yes, mostly thanks to the NFL draft and Howie Roseman making 10 picks, and why this draft has everything to do with trust. And Howie we trust, we've said it. Jeffrey Lurie said it. We've all said it, pretty much. Ever since Howie Roseman, won the first Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles with one of the deepest rosters, maybe the deepest roster in the history of the NFL. And now has been to 3 Super Bowls since the post-Chip Kelly era began. It's been quite the ride. And you're looking at 10 draft picks by Howie Roseman coming away from this draft. Quite the haul. We'll go through each and every pick. And also what this means for the depth chart of the Philadelphia Eagles going into the 2025 regular season. And we'll also take a look at some of the guys that really bring a lot of attitude, primarily to the defense. And it certainly is something that is going to be needed, especially after you're doing this retool, rebuild, restructure, whatever you want to call it when it comes to the defense. Overall, I'll tell you, my vibe after this draft is pretty positive. I feel like they got a playmaker in round 1, and we talked about that on Friday morning. Late, but we talked about it on Friday morning. When it came to Jahad Campbell, what he brings to the table. We'll get into what the Eagles got in day 2 and what they added in day 3 as well. Day 3 focusing actually, offensive side of the football a little bit. Some offensive linemen going here. Get a quarterback. Oh, my goodness. But no tight end. I told you guys I'd be shocked if the Eagles didn't draft a tight end. I'm even more shocked because if you would have told me that the Eagles were going to get 10 picks, I would have said, yeah, they're absolutely getting a tight end. No tight end. But Howie Roseman said he stayed true to his board. And anywhere he would have drafted a tight end, he felt like it would have been a reach for the need and not a reach for best available. So that was his philosophy. Could that just be GM speak? It certainly could. But again, it all comes down to trust in this particular draft. So we'll get to that. Phillies came away with I'll call it a huge series win in Chicago at Wrigley Field, especially after getting swept out of Flushing, New York. Phillies, speaking about things, if you would have told me going into it, if you would have told me that going into the Chicago Cubs series, Philadelphia Phillies pitching would hold the Cubs to 9 runs over 3 games, I would have said you're crazy. But that's exactly what they did. They held the Cubs to 9 runs, 3 per game. I'll do the math for you. And this is one of the hottest offenses in all of baseball going into this series. And if you would have told me that Aaron Nola and Orion Kirkering, Jose Alvarado, and Jordan Romano would hold this Cubs team to 1 run over 10 innings, I would have said, you're crazy, get out of here. But again, that's exactly what happened. Also, Trey Turner, 3 for 5 yesterday, 2 RBIs, including the always much-needed run in the 10th inning, the extra run, if you will, and how it was a I'll use the phrase that I used a little bit with the Sixers here, like kind of a perfect win for the Phillies yesterday, in that they did what they needed to do. They won. That's always a good thing. They won the series. They haven't won too many series recently. And they got the Nationals now for 3 games. So hopefully, keep your fingers crossed, they win another one. But it had some controversy. I feel like I've defended Johan Rojas. I feel like I've defended Aaron Nola more than most. But when it comes to Johan Rojas, I feel like I've defended him as well. Not a great game yesterday. And why the hell he would be bunting in the 10th inning, that makes no sense to me. That makes absolutely 0 sense to me. That was a yell at the TV moment. And I'll just say this before I go any further. Somebody hit me up afterwards on Twitter and just said, that's baseball, If it would have worked, we all would have said how brilliant it was. And I was like, I'll just let you know, after watching him try to bunt earlier in the game, 7th or 8th inning, whatever it was, and he couldn't get a bunt down, I see him square up in the 10th inning against a pitcher in Merriweather who has no idea where the strike zone is. I see him go around and square up for a bunt, and I just go, oh, God, no. And then he gets the bunt down, and just the way it looked, I went, oh, that seems like it's coming off the bat kind of hot. And if it's on, meaning if that was the play, then that means JT Realmuto was already going once it hits the grass. And it turns out that's exactly what it was. And it remained a terrible idea. Even more terribly executed. Does that make any sense? So that was just dumb. And then fortunately, Trey Turner came up and was able to beat out a throw by Bruhan at third base there in the 10th inning. That did Bruhan not know that Trey Turner's like really fast, like super fast? So that was dumb as well. But Phillies come away with the victory, and we'll take it, obviously. Let's get into it when it comes to the NFL draft and your Philadelphia Eagles, and what they had going on yesterday, and really throughout the weekend. I saw Andrew Makuba go off the board to the Eagles. They trade back. I don't get it. When I first saw it, my first thought was reach. That seems like a reach in the second round. 64th overall. So they picked last again. I just felt like at that spot, they didn't trade back there, but I just felt like at that spot, it was a reach with other names still available on the board. Now, again, trust is going to be the main thing. As Jalen Hurts always says, keep the main thing the main thing. Well, when it comes to Howie Roseman, the main thing is trust. You look at the rosters that he's built since he retook control of player personnel, more or less, even before he had the GM tag thrown back on him. He has done a phenomenal job. And yet last year, you look at him rebuilding your secondary essentially with the additions of Cooper DeJean and Quenya Mitchell, and that worked out pretty well again this year, So I look at this and I go, I don't see it right out of the gate, but what's Howie Roseman see? Here's Howie Roseman describing what the Eagles got in adding Makuba to the secondary.
It's really hard to find cover safeties and guys who have the ability to come down and play over the slot, play in the middle of the field, have natural instincts, play the ball. He was a slot corner at Clemson before he transferred to Texas. He's an Austin kid. He's got ball skills. He plays with mentality, and this guy, it's just he plays an Eagles brand of football, and I think for us, kind of the value fit the need right there, and we felt like throughout this process, this guy just did everything, checked all the boxes, and that was really what we're looking for from that position.
So you talk about versatility with a lot of these players. Excuse me. We'll get to Ty Robinson, who they took in the 4th round. Versatility is a big thing here, obviously. This is the thing, some of the Eagles always talk about is versatility. He gives you a lot of options. You talk about being aggressive, talk about being a cover, you talk about having that versatility in terms of options. He can play in the slot. He'll start in the safeties room. That's where Howie Roseman said he'll start out at. I have no doubt that's the key contribution the Eagles are looking for him to make before they might go out there and, I don't know, sign Justin Simmons, as I've been talking about really throughout the offseason. But this is what the Eagles are thinking when they're looking at Makuba, what he could bring to the table. Talking about 4.45 speed at the combine, 5 picks last year in the SEC, led the SEC, was tied for the SEC lead in that. You hear him talk about the mentality of the player. You hear him talking about the natural instincts of the player. You hear him talking about the value and the need fit. So where he was taken in the draft was a perfect spot, at least where the Eagles thought that they could take him. So that's where they took him. In terms of versatility, does it give the Eagles the option, if they don't like what they're getting from Keely Ringo, if they don't like what they're getting from Adoree Jackson, does it give the Eagles the option to potentially move Cooper DeJean, excuse me, to the outside and put him in the inside? Yes, it gives them the option potentially. I still don't do that, but the Eagles are hedging their bets a little bit here in terms of at least having somebody that they feel could come in and play that position. So overall, I'm not blown away by this pick. I wasn't doing jumping jacks when they did it. Really, the overall theme of this draft is, again, trust. I didn't look at anybody really other than Campbell in the first round and go, I can't believe they pulled it off. Whatever. It's never a good thing when I look at a draft and I see the team pick in the second round, last pick in the second round, and then they go, okay, we're good. We're good. We're good for the third round. Like to pass up on an opportunity to trade back twice, especially on the third day, it just doesn't make sense to me. You want as many earlier picks as possible and fewer later picks as possible. That's just common knowledge here. But they come away with a haul in 10 players. Again, none of them a tight end. But all right. So then they don't pick till the fourth round. At the 111th overall pick, they get Ty Robinson out of Nebraska. 6'5", 288. Everyone talks about how well he can move. If you watch Nebraska at all, if you even went back and watched highlights, he definitely can get upfield, can get after the quarterback. He does have quickness for that size. I find it interesting that they took a defensive tackle with that size that also had the best 40 time of all the defensive tackles that were out there. I'm sure you've heard that by now. But also, I like this because this is something we didn't see a lot from with the Eagles. And for a team that doesn't blitz, you got to run games. And Ty Robinson is a guy that is very good at running stunts. He's very, very good at running TEs. He's good at looping around and getting to the outside and stuff like that. So overall strength is there. Size is obviously there. Quickness, agility, speed is there. There's potential here. And there's also potential to do something that Jordan Davis really doesn't do. Now, am I saying he's going to do it? Absolutely not. I'm just saying the potential is there because, again, what's the buzzword of the day? Trust when it comes to this draft. And by the way, I'm skeptical of this draft. I'm very skeptical. But you're talking about draft grades from like Pro Football Focus and ESPN, and I'm just going, yeah, I mean, I feel like they got somebody that can come in and play tomorrow and Jahad Campbell. But after that, I'm like, I don't know. All right. But just back to the Ty Robinson, what he can bring to the table here. 15 tackles for loss at Nebraska this past year. 5-year starter. Ahead of the game or ahead of the curve when it comes to a rookie in the NFL in terms of what goes on between the ears. He's definitely got the mindset. He's definitely got the know-how. It's a matter of putting it together at the NFL level. And as it is for every NFL draft and every team that goes through this is how they did against kids, how they're going to do against men. That's what you always talk about coming out of the draft. So then the Eagles don't pick again until 145. They go up and they get, how about this for a name? Mac McWilliams out of Central Florida. They had a quarterback. Always looking to add a player like this. This, to me, is one of the more intriguing picks and possibly important picks of the draft. Of the 10 players, there's one thing in particular that this guy does. Old Mac McWilliams, what he does for this Eagles team that I was really hoping they'd actually get. And I didn't even talk about this. It's something that was on my mind. I don't even think I mentioned this, though. If you could come away from this draft with somebody that can return punts so it's not Cooper DeJean, then that's a win. And they got somebody in Mac McWilliams that can return punts. Now, he's a corner. He's a 4.41 speed guy. Another smaller guy. Makuba's a smaller guy. I didn't mention that. But they bring in a guy that can return punts. About 10.5 yards per return last year for Central Florida. I don't want to see Cooper DeJean do that in 2025. I hated that he did it in 2024. To me, it makes zero sense. And I think it was a wild oversight by Howie Roseman and company to not have somebody else return punts other than Cooper DeJean. That's a spot that you just don't need anybody who is going to play 80% of your snaps on either side of the football. You don't need that guy being used on punt returns. Find somebody else that's more true special teamer than one of your starters. Hey, in case of emergency, break glass. You need a run, a good return in the late in the fourth quarter. Cooper G, get on back there. I'm not putting him on the same level as Deshaun Jackson, but that's how the Eagles eventually were using Deshaun Jackson. In case of emergency, you put him back there on punt returns. You don't need to do it here. So that's the one thing I saw with Mac McWilliams about something he can bring to the table here and help this 2025 Eagles team in the near future and spell Cooper DeJean from doing it. Later in the 5th round, they go defensive again, getting Samuel Mondone out of Georgia. Shocking. 6'2", 224 pounds, 2-time national champion. Doesn't hurt. 3-year starter at Georgia as well. And he has experience playing both inside and outside. At this point in the draft, they're adding depth. Linebacker / edge in the 1st round. Again, this is us getting ready or getting used to this world that we live in now, where the Eagles are paying a running back monster money. They're paying a linebacker monster money. They took a linebacker in the 1st round of the draft. And now they get another linebacker here with more depth. This is already after having Jeremiah Trotter Jr. last year. This is after Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round 2 years prior. Hoping he can stay healthy this year. So the Eagles all of a sudden at linebacker are going, oh, look at this. Pretty packed room all of a sudden. Later in the 5th round as well, they added offensive lineman Drew Kendall out of Boston College, 6'4", 308. His dad was a 13-year pro in the NFL playing for Seattle, Arizona, I almost called them New Jersey Jets, New York Jets, and the Washington football team back in the day. First offensive player selected in the draft by the Eagles in 5 picks was Drew Kendall. Depth, again, is what comes to mind here. You have someone that can play left guard, right guard, center, if need be. They're always going to, but did you really look? Of all the guarantees you could make about a draft, they weren't going to go through a draft without taking an offensive lineman, and that's exactly what they did with the 168th overall pick. By the way, it was just 7 picks after taking him on doing there. 6th round. Eagles pick a quarterback out of Syracuse by way of Ohio State. If you're going to go from Ohio State to Syracuse, then you better ball out. And that's exactly what Kyle McCord did. Eagles fan, growing up. Good for him. 6'3", 218. Ohio State for 3 years, Syracuse for a year. And, yeah, he led the nation, led the FBS in passing yards, set the ACC single season record with passing yards, 4,779. And I watched that Hawaii Bowl, or not Hawaii, what was it? Holiday Bowl. I mean, for what it was, the Holiday Bowl against Washington State, I believe. Yeah. He balled out. He absolutely balled out. One of the things I noticed early on in that game was staring down receivers often. And then they started running a little bit of play action. They started running a little bit of RPO and didn't have a problem with taking his eyes off a target. A couple of plays went through his progressions rather well. I found it interesting that one of the things that Nick Sirianni said about him when he was asked about drafting the quarterback, he just said, quick-minded, goes through his progressions well. He can adjust well. He's the ability to think on his feet. He's an athlete. He can move around. He can make all the throws, all that stuff. I mean, he's a 6th-round pick. All right. Here's where I'm at. And before everyone jumps, Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. That's Tom Brady, okay? That's the exception, not the rule. I look at him as a player that has potential to be worth more than a 6th-round pick. If the Eagles give him an opportunity to play, if he has an opportunity at any point to play, then, yeah, there's potential there where you could flip him for a 3rd rounder, a 4th rounder, something like that. That's the best case scenario if this even works out with him here in Philadelphia. But I give him credit. Nice college career. Great year last year for the Cuse. And it's always nice to have a local kid and an Eagles fan. The Eagles get 2 of them in this draft. This is the 2nd. This isn't Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz. Looking back on that, though, because it did get me thinking about it. This is in no way, shape, or form anyone that's – let me just get this out of the way for the people that need the obvious stated here. This is in no way, shape, or form someone's coming in to compete for the job, okay? This is not a Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts situation. But in going through that in my head again, I really think that Howie did not draft Jalen Hurts just for let's see what happens with a second-round pick. I don't think that's what happened at all. I think he knew Carson Wentz was done. And I think it's for a multitude of reasons, but there was that story that came out after Carson Wentz essentially took himself out of the game after getting hit in the head by Jadeveon Clowney in the playoffs. And Howie wasn't pleased with Carson not wanting to go back into the game. There was a story out there. I don't think it was ever confirmed, but it puts credence to that story. Like, this guy can't even, he was cleared or he was fine to play and he just didn't. If that's true, allegedly, if that's true, then Howie looked at it and said, I could get Jalen Hurts in the second round and he could potentially take over for Carson. Yeah. So I bring that up only to tell you, he's not taking McCord in the sixth round and go, oh, he could potentially take over for Jalen. That ain't happening. No way, shape, or form are these comparable. Just for the people that need to hear that. After this, you're just looking at more depth through the sixth round. This is where you take you take 4 players in the sixth round. Miles Hinton, tackle out of Michigan. Cameron Williams out of Texas, another tackle. Right tackle, mostly 6'6", big dude. 6'7", by the way, is Miles Hinton there out of Michigan. 20 games at right tackle, 11 games at left tackle. And then you take an outside linebacker, edge rusher, 6'3", in Antoine Powell Ryland out of Virginia Tech. I don't get it. I just don't get it. What's the buzzword? Trust. I don't. If you're looking for depth, why not a tight end? I'm surprised Gunnar Helm, they had the ability to draft. They didn't. That was one guy that I thought. Then they met with at the combine. It's one of the first people they actually talked to, and no, nothing. There were other players. Like, what I don't understand is, I really feel Dallas Goedert's played his last game. Howie Roseman was asked about it at his press conference. I think it was yesterday, or excuse me, Saturday. And hey, what do you do? No tight end. And he's just like, yeah, that's it didn't match, as he said. Here he is talking about why tight end didn't happen for the Eagles in this draft.
Again, just trying to be as true as we could to the board. You know, every time that we had the opportunity to pick, we were looking at the board and really trying to reflect what that work to put those grades in really should be reflected in the outcome. So we didn't want to kind of drop down at some points. There were some points where it was close, but it was never at the time we were selecting the best player.
I honestly never thought that Mason Taylor was going to be there for the Eagles. We talked about Terrence Ferguson last week. We talked about some other names last week. I thought Gunnar Helm was a possibility. I mean, I feel like you get any of the tight ends that were taken in the first 2 rounds, 3 rounds, you have somebody that's going to come in and they're going to play. Are they this invested in Grant Calcaterra? Do they have something else up their sleeve? It just doesn't make sense to me. And I'm looking at, again, the draft grades nationally, and hey, A+. Like, Howie Roseman killed it. And it is a haul. You get 10 players, that's a lot. But when you get 4 players in the 6th round, you're like, well, what is it? Why do you need that many 6th round picks? If you're really going to be spending this much money on guys like Jalen Carter, and obviously you have money tied up in Saquon Barkley, your quarterback, your offensive line, your wide receivers. If you're going to be spending this much money, shouldn't you get younger players that you know are going to be able to pan out or have a better odds of panning out? I just don't. I look at this draft and I go, Jahad Campbell, yay. After that, I'm like, Ty Robinson seems kind of cool, like a good pick. I'm not blown away by this draft at all. Like, draft as a whole, I'm not blown away by it. There's one player that I'm really excited about, and that's the guy that the Eagles got at 31 that other people had, including Howie Roseman, in their top 10. That's impressive. That's great. But it seemed to be a lot more potential. Howie's got a hell of a track record. It's hard to argue with a lot of these things, but I just don't understand the mentality of continuously moving back when there's players on the board that can help you now. So that's what I don't like. I don't know if you guys are tickled with this draft or not, but I am not. And hopefully they go into training camp and all of a sudden you start getting buzz with these guys about how great they look with Ty Robinson, Mac McWilliams returning punts and looking great. All that. As far as the focus on defense when it comes to the Eagles, as I mentioned, Drew Kendall, 5 picks into the draft, was their first offensive pick taken. Howie talked about how on the offensive side of things, you are pretty sad, basically. When you lose starters, like you lost starters on the defensive side of the football, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Darius Slay, just to name a couple, you want to make sure that you replenish that you do it with talent. I feel like the Eagles got a player that will quickly be better than what Josh Sweat was going to bring you in the upcoming season. I think he's going to bring you more than what Josh Sweat brought you really throughout the entire regular season last year. Like, I got high hopes for what John Campbell could do for you. Will that be enough to look at this draft and go, oh, that was a successful draft? Will Ty Robinson give you enough push playing next to? Will he basically give you what Milton Williams gave you last year? These are the questions that need to be answered in the very early goings for this to be, oh, yeah, this draft was great. Oh, can't judge a draft until 3 years. Okay, my ass. I can't. Okay, I'll judge immediately. Thank you. And this is not one that really blows me away. You could be ecstatic with it. I know it's taboo to question anything Howie does nowadays, but I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, the Eagles had a draft and they got a player that thinks it'll be a starter. And all right, after that, there's some depth they got. All right. It's funny, one tight end. They take one tight end, and you're talking about a guy that's coming in and helping you immediately. Other than what you got in Jahad Campbell. So yeah, tell me your draft grade. Go ahead. I mean, I got a C+ for the. I mean, I go between a B- and a C+ just because I think they got a stud. They got one stud. That's usually pretty good. They left a lot of meat on the bone, though, as far as I'm concerned, with this draft. Let me know what you think about this Eagles draft in the comments as well. Here's basically how I felt about the rest of the draft after Jahad Campbell. Ugh. There you go. Hey, your Philadelphia Phillies yesterday. I still can't believe it. I did a hit on CBS 3 last night after the game. And the word that came up a couple of times, I think, was surprise. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? It's like Aaron Nola, 7 innings, 1 run. I think you have seen a big difference in Aaron Nola over his last 2 starts with JT Realmuto catching him as opposed to Rafael Marchand. I think that's the number one thing. As much as JT, and he was actually good yesterday, but JT struggled offensively, this year a little bit, a lot. And what he does behind the plate, though, is where he makes his money. I think Aaron Nola had a really good rapport with Garrett Stubbs. I'm not making an excuse here. I'm acknowledging a fact. Rafael Marchand calling pitches for him or catching him didn't work out nearly as well as JT Realmuto over the last 2 games. Now, the last 2 games, remember, Aaron Nola went up there against the Mets in his previous start, pitched into the 7th inning because Tinker Topper didn't tinker at the right time in this particular instance. And Aaron Nola was cooked. Allowed back-to-back 1-out base runners. Then I think it was Jose Ruiz took over and gave up the 3-run home run. 2 of the runs charged to Aaron Nola. So it ended up being, I think it was 6 innings and 4 runs, or 6 1/3 and 4 runs. But throughout that start, he pitched a lot better. Yesterday was his best start of the season by a mile. And he had his knuckle curve working great. He had his fastball, had a couple of more, a little bit, 92 and a half miles per hour. Velo was up a little bit. And it wasn't a scorcher at all yesterday in Chicago. And he just looked dialed in. There was 5, the first 5 batters he faced, he got up on them with strike 1, the first pitch of the at-bat. So he's not working from behind. And all in all, you're talking about a 99 pitch performance over 7 innings, a 1-run baseball with 6 strikeouts, 3 hits, 1 walk, and I believe that came in the 7th inning, his last one. That's amazing for Aaron Nola to have that kind of start. And then to give the ball to the bullpen, and they're perfect. You even get a little intimidation factor from Jose Ruiz on Kyle Tucker. Didn't see that coming. He gets a 2-0 count on Kyle Tucker. He burns a fastball way up, way in, moving Kyle Tucker off the plate a little bit. Then he comes away with a 3-0 fastball on the outside corner of the plate, paints it, okay? So you set him up perfectly for that. You beat him again with a fastball or a sinker, whatever. And then you get him to line out to left field. Masterful performance by Jose Alvarado there and using a little intimidation. Then, of all people, before Alvarado was Orion Kerkering. He has a 1-2-3 9-pitch inning. That was incredible. And then Jordan Romano shuts everything down in the 10th inning like it was nothing. And how about Karl Ravech? I love Karl Ravech, okay? I think he does a great job, and I'm going to miss Sunday Night Baseball. All right, I have loved Karl Ravech since I was a child, and it was him and Craig Kilborn on SportsCenter, right? Doing they have Tuesday, I forget what day they had, but I loved him. And he comes out spitting fire on Jordan Romano going into the 10th inning there, bottom of the 10th inning. And, it's nothing we haven't said. I'm just surprised to hear from a national broadcaster. He was just like, he said something to the effect of, Jordan Romano was pretty good, and this year, not so much. I was like, okay, well, we've said kind of thing. It's just like, he's really been searching for something to help him out there on the mound. It's like, okay. And he goes out there and he's throwing sliders that basically got him into the All-Star game when he was in Toronto for 2 years. And you're like, okay, well, that's the guy that the Phillies wanted in the offseason, and that's the guy they got. In the 10th inning, that's the guy they got. Now build on it. Just like I was saying, an overall theme of the draft was trust. An overall theme with the Phillies right now is trust. Do you trust them to do this again? Do you trust Aaron Nola to have another 7-inning, 1-run performance in him in the very near future? Do you trust that this is what Jordan Romano went through a little dead arm period and now he's good? Do you trust that Christopher Sanchez, when he makes his next start, is going to have the feeling in his fingertips again? You got a 10-run performance in Game 2 of this series against the Cubs. You started this series out by getting shut out 4-0. I said after Game 1, if you hold the Cubs to 4 runs, you got to win that game. They didn't win that game. They were terrible. That was a game where I think they were 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. And my takeaway from it wasn't that they were 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. My takeaway was they had 7 runners in scoring position in this game. It didn't feel like it. Every once in a while, you're watching the game, just like, man, this sucks, man. They didn't get anybody on base, whatever. And then afterwards, you look at it and you go, they had 7 runners in scoring position? It's insane. Not what I expected. And then 10 runs in Game 2. Again, holding the Cubs to 4 runs, and you beat them. And then Game 3, you hold this offense to 1 run through 10 innings of work. That's hard to do. And I also want to give a hat tip, by the way, to the Chicago Cubs fans. That was an awesome environment yesterday. It came through the TV. Whether it was Nico Horner making a great play at second base, staying with a double play ball, whether it was the catch, Rob and Nick Castellanos of extra bases on a ball that was just 2.5 feet shy, maybe, of ended up in the basket at Wrigley Field for a big-time home run. That was in the 9th inning. You had a runner on that would have been a 2-run home run. It would have been a 3-1 game. And Happ just makes the catch against the ivy there in left field, and the place goes nuts. Like, they were into it, man. The Cubs fans were into it yesterday, and that just made watching the game so much more exciting. And the fact that the Phillies won obviously helps, but that was a great buzz. It was like a playoff game yesterday. If you could get an April playoff game, a vibe, that's what it felt like. For it being a non-divisional game, that was like a playoff game. This does not make me forget the series against the Mets, that they couldn't even muster a win against the Mets. But it gets things going in a better direction, I'll tell you that much, especially now that you got the Nationals coming to town for 3 games. Then the Arizona Diamondbacks. 10th inning, yesterday's ball game. Merriweather's pitching. Castellanos at second base. JT Realmuto starts out 0-2, works his way back, 7-pitch at bat. He works a walk. Kepler works a walk. He was up in the count 3-0. Merriweather makes it a 3-2 count. He ends up walking him. You get the bases loaded with nobody out. Alec Boehm. Now, this is where swinging at the first pitch works out. Merriweather struggling with the strike zone. Just walked 2 guys. Bases loaded again. Nobody out. They have a little mound visit. Alec Boehm sitting there in the on-deck circle, and he's making his way to home plate, and he's going first pitch fastball, first pitch fastball, first pitch fastball, first pitch fastball. Merriweather gives him a first pitch fastball, and Alec Boehm puts a charge into it to deep right field. Not only does he get the sacrifice fly to drive in the run to take the 2-1 lead, he moves JT Realmuto to third base. So now you've advanced the runner. Johan Rojas steps to the plate. Johan Rojas, in the 8th inning, failed miserably to get a bunt down after a leadoff walk by Alec Boehm. He ended up grounding into a 6-4-3 double play in a 1-1 game. Johan Rojas steps to the plate and squares around a bunt. Now, first off, if you've walked 2 guys already, and you just gave up a run on a first pitch fastball, it's the only, on a one pitch to the batter, to Alec Boehm. I am letting the pitcher drown. I am letting him step in that quicksand. I'm not bailing him out with a sacrifice anything. Okay? Alec Boehm, I have confidence he can put a charge in the baseball and get a sac fly. That's fine. Johan Rojas, take some pitches, okay? I don't care if you get down to the count 0-2. After that, try to protect the plate, but try to work a walk. Somebody hit me up when I criticized, said that was just dumb. That was dumb to bunt with Johan. Somebody's like, well, what else did you want him to do? I'm like, walk, take a couple pitches, not just give an out away. And again, before it didn't work, when I saw him square around a bunt, I just went, oh, no. And then he got it down, and I saw it coming off the bat. And I go, definitely not. And there's JT thrown out by a mile at home. I hated that. Because what are you expecting this offense to break out again? And I'm thinking it's just going to be like it was against the Mets in 10 innings where you failed to get that extra run. Trey Turner beating out that throw. 3 hits again for Trey Turner yesterday, to mention that again. And I don't know what Bruhan was thinking at third, but the minute I saw him double clutch, I went, this is another run. I don't know if he lost the grip of the ball. It didn't look like it. It just looked like he wanted to take his time. He makes the throw across the diamond, and like Trey Turner's already out of the camera shot when the ball got to first base. Like he's already out of the shot. Like that's how much he beat the throw by. But another run scores. Phillies win 3-1. Feels damn good. Off day today for your Phillies. So no Phillies postcast on Locked On Phillies YouTube channel, but there will be Harry Mays, Jason Martinez. I think Louis DiBiase is going to join us again today, and me. We're going to be on Locked On Eagles YouTube channel at noon, recapping the draft and breaking it all down when it comes to what Howie Roseman had going on for himself in this particular draft. So we'll get to all that and more on Locked On Eagles. Eagle Squad podcast today at noon on Locked On Eagles YouTube channel. Let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. I want to go to the game, the concert, the comedy show, whatever it might be. Game Time app has you covered. Also, download the Game Time app and use Game Time Picks feature, which allows you to filter out all the fluff. Get right down to it. The best seats at the best prices with the Game Time Picks feature on the Game Time app. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation? Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's phlsportsnation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how your wonderful people are doing on this fine Monday morning. Sean Kilrain, good morning. Farzy Campaign Bar. Farzy is now a Jordan Romano truther after this series. Truther. When a guy sucks, I tell you he sucks. And Jordan Romano sucked up until yesterday. Found it interesting. He's also the 10th inning guy now for the Phillies. Sean Kilrain, hello, 40-yard dash 483. First among defensive tackles. 10-yard split. I assume this is Ty Robinson. Yeah. Sean Gillespie, hello. William Stark, hello. Good morning. Sean Kilrain, Eagle sign. Sean Taylor's younger brother, Gabe Taylor, safety with Rice. Hope he does well on his own path, as do I. Man, I don't want to go down the Sean Taylor rabbit hole, but man, that's for the young ones that don't know about that one. Go look, Sean Taylor, Washington. Make sure you watch the Pro Bowl hit on the punter, though. That's fun. Sean Kilrain, hello again. Little Dicky, aka that is perfect. Definitely Little Dicky. That's perfect. Little Dicky, aka Romano, comes through for the Phillies. How about that? Trent Wright, good morning. Good morning. Jeff Schultz, how much espresso do you need this morning to think the Eagles had a good draft? It's not so much for me that it's a good draft. It's a good draft haul. They got 10 players, so that's like 10 lottery balls bouncing around there, I guess. Well, 9, because I think would I call it a good draft? It's a good haul. It's good if you definitely get someone out of it that is going to be a stud, and I think John Campbell's going to be a stud. It could have been a lot better. Like the A grades, I don't get. C+, B- at most. That's where I'd go with this draft. Trenton Wright. Anyone who gets lots of picks like Makuba will thrive in our defense. Oh, lots of picks. You mean interceptions? Excuse me. I'm thinking of lots. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, look, everything's right about him as far as like his size sucks. He's not a big dude. Okay. But getting after the football, making hits. He could be, if they don't get Justin Simmons, I could see him being a starter again. Or I could see him being another starter the Eagles get out of this draft. I could see it. I'm not convinced, but I could. They're looking for somebody that's better than Sidney Brown and Tristan McCullum. Yeah, they certainly might have gotten him. He's certainly someone looking at this draft that has the ability to be a heat-seeking missile like Sidney Brown, but also already has the instincts to stay back, pick off passes, break up passes, come down and play in the box. He's certainly a versatile player in that, and I know the Eagles will be looking to add some weight to him. And no, again, I don't think, because again, he's played in the nickel. I don't think he's your nickel corner. I think he's safety. And again, Howie Roseman even pointed that out during his day 2 in a media session, saying that he's going to start in the safeties room and see where it goes from there. Because if it doesn't work out there, then he's not starting, or Cooper DeJean is being moved to the outside, which I don't want. And I'm not predicting. April. Good morning, April. Zach Weber, hello. This is Knicks Nation, baby. Let's go Knicks. Sir, this is a Wendy's? By the way, that was a foul on Josh Hart. Are we all on the same page here? Good. Kevin. Good morning, Kevin. Phillies are back. Wild Niners wine. Howie is Howie. Not sure I understand the draft either, but I have to give him the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, I hate benefits of the doubt. But I'm with you. I agree. Afraid, hello. Makuba is going to get stronger, put on 30 or more pounds of muscle. I hope so. 20 or more pounds of muscle. All right. Oh, he didn't sign with, I thought he signed. Oh, okay. He's going to Washington. How about that? LJ Maya. Why are the Celtics being talked about right now? Now we're in a Burger King. Daz, good morning. Stoutland, you and Fangio drafted these kids. Hats off to them. Yeah, I mean, Nick Sirianni's sitting up there, and I get he's the head coach and everything, but when you have a defensive-heavy draft, like, Nick, what are you doing? Why are you? And look, Fangio's been a head coach. He's got respect for the seat and all that stuff, like Jim Schwartz used to say. But I want to hear what Vic Fangio has to say about it. And we're not going to hear that till minicamp. Dad thought Jalen Walker was going to be the guy. Yeah. Jeremy, good morning. We have no tight ends under contract in 2025, 2026. That's crazy. Ty Robinson was my guy, says BMO. BMO Kefo. He will earn a second contract. Yeah. I like what I've seen from him. It's big shoes to fill. You're going to be asking him to fill the shoes of Milton Williams. And he went into the fourth round for that. I try not to just pay attention to where they were drafted, but they were drafted there for a reason. And I know the board can fall in any weird way, just like Jahad Campbell can fall to you, just like in the first round also Quentin Mitchell can fall to you. You can have the ability to go up and get Cooper DeJean. I know it's a crazy, crazy day. Every draft day there is. I got high hopes for him. Eagles fan, I need the Philly fanatic hat behind you with the green fur. Where can I buy one? I don't know if they saw. I got that for free. They just gave it to me. I'm sure that's in the Fanatic store. I think Howie didn't use enough draft capital that he has next year to just get a tight end. Everything screams Goddard is going to be here. Hey, look, if they would have drafted a tight end, we would have been like, oh, Dallas Goedert's played his last game. Absolutely. I still feel like Dallas Goedert's played his last game. But when you don't draft a tight end, it does walk you down the path closer to he's back. I still don't think he is, but this is evidence that he will be. Dad says he loves Makuba. Good. Mondoon will be sneaky good. I'm pretty happy with this draft. A in my book. Just wish we got more picks in the second and third round. Sean Gillespie, winning the Super Bowl is an inconvenience during the draft. Like it's an inconvenience for Jalen Hurts for his off-season workout regimen. I was busy winning the Super Bowl. Other quarterbacks are ahead of me now because I was, busy winning the Super Bowl. And then I had to go to the MVP press conference the next day. Then I had to go to Disney. Then I had to do the media circuit. Oh, JB goes to Antonio Gates. Is there a Gates floating around? I hope so. I think C+ is a fair grade. Walk Bain, I'll tell you right now, that's why I said B- as well, because I hate the C+. The C+ is such an on-the-fence thing, but it applies here. Like, it applies. And here's another thing. I hate, like, you could have two starters. You could have Makuba and Jahad Campbell as starters this year. I hate, and I used to work with a guy that did this. I hate when people justify a draft pick with saying, well, he's a starter for you. Of course he's a starter for you. You drafted him. You're trying to justify your draft pick. Oh, well, they drafted. Look at those starters they drafted. Yeah, but that doesn't mean they're good enough to start. That means politics got involved. Now, there's exceptions. Obviously, Quentin Mitchell deserves to be a starter. I'm not saying politics are involved there. But I hate when people just use that. Well, you start. He's a starter, so the draft worked. That's not the point. The point was there better talent, maybe even at that same position available. People are excited about Makuba. That's good. Jim West, VT, hello. Howie, I think, is getting outmaneuvered in the third round 2 years in a row. Browns grabbed Sanders before Eagles. Carolina took to Notre Dame tight end before Howie. Otherwise, good draft. Did you ever go in the third round? That was the fourth round. Was that the third round he ended up going in? It's the fourth round. What am I looking at here? What's happening? Where am I? Yeah, third round, the Browns took the tight end. I'm losing my mind. Whatever. That Shedeur Sanders thing, man. That was insane. What am I doing? I feel like I've lost my fifth round. Yeah, he went in the fifth round. Okay. We're both wrong. Yeah, he went later than that. Fifth round. Right before the Eagles took Mac McWilliams. Zach Weber, what's going on? I think there are still too many problems with this Phillies team, Farzy, especially in the National League. Yeah. A lot of problems. Smitty, nice to have you back. How you doing? Luke Skylifter, hello. The draft class is a bunch of chicken bleep for Stoutland and Fangio to make chicken salad. Here's some chicken salad. Daz, he's going to be really good. Love the attitude he brings. Reminds me of CJ. Is that dog in him? He's definitely got a dog in him. Again, aggressive. I don't want to make it seem like I hate the Makuba pick. I thought it was interesting. Do you need a safety? You absolutely needed a safety. This is apparently where it worked out for the Eagles to take a safety. And there they are. There they are. Brian, bro, boy, we're talking Phillies. Hey, they won, man. Zach Weber looking to October, as am I. Alfredo, hello again. Where is it? There we go. Makuba is going to get stronger, put on 20 pounds or muscle, and pop people for us. I hope so. Gets us takeaways, pass breakups. Yeah, I look, there's potential. There's potential there. Sean Gillespie. That was an allowed foul on the Knicks. Yeah, a little bit. And I love how after the game you're like, yeah, sorry about that. Sorry about that. The mommy. Considering we won the Super Bowl, had to pick last in the first two rounds. I think we're going to be great once again. See, here's the thing about the draft, the mommy. This Eagles team is still stacked as far as I'm concerned. Defensively speaking, Jalen Carter's going to make anyone on that defensive line look better. I really like the addition of Azeez Ojulari. I really like the addition of Jihad Campbell. I really like knowing what you're getting from your linebackers, especially when you talk about what Nakobe Dean can give you when he's healthy. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. taking another step forward this year. And also, the obvious, Jihad Campbell being added to the mix here. I really like this. Defensively, you're set. You know you're set when it comes to your nickel and it comes to your outside, one of your outside cornerbacks. I think you're going to be good opposite Quenyon Mitchell when it comes to what Adoree Jackson can bring in. He's a veteran. You kind of know what you're going to get from him, which you could be getting from a Mac McWilliams. Again, I think he's going to be a special teamer more than anything. But I like this. Makuba could be fantastic, but he's still not going to be as good as Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He could very well be better than what you have already. Most likely he is better than what you have already. I still say Justin Simmons is coming here to Philadelphia. I'm still on that train. But offensively speaking, you're still a dominant offense. And that's going to be the star of the show. Drew Christian, 5th round. I think we're talking about the Sanders there. Yeah. But the D. William H. Miller, trust. Yeah. Drew Nichols, Jahad Campbell, great pickup. That's the star of the show. Jahad Campbell by far is the star of the show. I think Mac McWilliams, I think he's an outside corner, absolutely, but says Brian Pumper. But in terms of this team, I think he's your special team. I don't think he's playing much corner for you this year. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful, as per usual. Oh, go Sixers. I think, 3 solid players. I think if to go 3 solid players, obviously there's 2 that need to work out here in Makuba and Robinson, if that's who you're referencing. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful, as per usual. Let's get to the morning rush, brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Eagles wrapping up with the draft, getting 10 players in that draft. Now we cross our fingers. Phillies off today. They're back at now 15-13 on the season. How about that? Phillies, after taking 2 or 3 against the Cubs at Wrigley, they got the Washington Nationals coming to town for a 3-game series starting tomorrow night. Zach Wheeler will get the ball against Mackenzie Gore. All 3 games, 6:45 start times. Phillies play Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 6:45 when they start their 3-game series with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Then they have a 6:05 start time on Saturday and a 2:05 start time on Sunday. Programming note, 2 things. 1, no postcasts this weekend for the Diamondback series. I'll be going away, a little family trip to Tennessee, going to visit my nephew down there, and going to have myself a good time. So no postcasts taken off the weekend. No Farzy show Friday morning, most likely. No Farzy show Monday morning, definitely, because I'll still be flying back. And no postcasts over the weekend. So just want to make sure you guys knew that, and I'll remind you throughout the week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Coming up on Jacob Media at 8 o'clock, you got my man John McMullen. You got my man Xander Krause breaking it all down when it comes to this Eagles draft on Birds 365 coming up at 8 o'clock. In the meantime, make sure you hit like and subscribe to the Farzy Show YouTube channel. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to Jacob Media YouTube channel. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to Locked On Phillies YouTube channel. And make sure you like and subscribe to Locked On Eagles YouTube channel as well. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzetta. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Be back with you guys at noon today with Harry Mays, Jason Martinez, and Louis DiBiase to break down the Eagles even further on a all-new Eagles Squad podcast on the Locked On Sports Network. See you guys then. Have a great rest of your day.